Let's talk about the blue full moon in Capricorn that is happening on July 21st of this week. Now, blue moons are something that happen occasionally in astrology, and it's really kind of due to the fact that in a single lunar cycle, you might get the full moon or the new moon, but typically the full moon happening twice in the same sign, as is the case this time, where on June 21st, we had a full moon in Capricorn, and now on July 21st, we're going to have another full moon in Capricorn, and I'll show you exactly what that looks like. And then we'll talk a little bit about what that means in astrology, what you can do with it in your rising sign, and also a little bit about some folk magic to do even when the moon is in Capricorn, which is the sign of her detriment. Okay. So the first thing we're going to look at here is the full moon that is coming up this week on July 21st. As you can see, if you're on the East Coast, it's going to be around 6:17 a.m. Eastern time when this is exact, but you can always just check your own chart or check your own time to see when the moon is at 29 degrees and 8 minutes. And the sun, of course, will also be at 29 degrees at 8 minutes. As you can see here, this is going to be just after sunrise for my location. And so that has no bearing or significance other than that's the time of day or the mode of the day that it is happening for me. It can happen at any time of day and still be a full moon and still have that effect of being a full moon. The full moon is important because it is the moon being full of light. This is as filled with light as the moon will get. So we have the two phases of the moon breaking down between waxing and waning. Waxing when the moon is gaining light, becomes full, has all of the light, and then begins losing light after that full moon. So the importance of a full moon is that the moon has all the light, has all the energy, brings all the clarity, sheds light on everything. And the trick that you want to do with a full moon is actually pop back 6 months prior to that full moon to see what might have begun for you in the same sign of the full moon 6 months before when there was a new moon in that same sign. So in this case, we're looking 6 months ago, perhaps 7 months ago at this point, to see what happened during the new moon in Capricorn in your life. And you want to be able to narrow that down for you based on your rising sign and then finding on your own chart where Capricorn is and which house Capricorn is in. As you can see here, Capricorn is in this 6th house of this chart. So you want to just find that number that is taken up by the Capricorn sign in your chart. And once you find that house, you will be able to find the keywords for that astrological house that you can then use and say, okay, what area of my life is being impacted by this second full moon in Capricorn? Now we say second full moon in Capricorn because yes, this is a blue moon. So we're having a repeat of this Capricorn full moon. The last time we had it again was on June 21st, and I happen to have that just prepared over here. So you can see on June 21st, we had a first, well, really it's the second degree of Capricorn because there is a 0. So when you hear the first degree of a sign, you're actually thinking between 0 and 1. This is between 1 and 2, so it is the second degree. It's kind of like when you think about your birthdays, you're born and they say you're months old, right? Then you turn 1. You're not 1 anymore. You actually have completed 1, and now you are working on 2. So it's the same kind of concept here. We are working on the second degree of Capricorn in this June 21st full moon that we experienced. So this is something that would have brought up that event that began 6 months prior when there was the new moon in Capricorn, and it would bring clarity to it. It would bring fulfillment to it. It would bring sort of your midpoint plot point to this situation where you began something and now you can see it pretty clearly and you can see what it will take to find the fulfillment of it and the completion of it by the next new moon in Capricorn, which will be that full year cycle around. So in about 6 months. So what we had was the moon happening very early in Capricorn, which means over the 28-day or so cycle that a moon cycle lasts, it didn't actually make it all the way into the next sign. So that's how we get our 29 degree full moon happening now. So in that time, because it was in the early part of the sign, now we experience it at the end of the sign. We get 2 full moons in Capricorn. As far as ancient sources regarding this or telling you what to do with a blue moon, there really isn't anything in any texts that I have encountered. So I kind of just thought about it on my own of how would we work with something like this with a moon happening twice. And it reminds me a little bit of like the moon's version of a retrograde, where on occasion we get to revisit something the next month that we did the month prior as well. So a retrograde is a planet moving direct in the sky, and then from our perspective, it seems to turn around and move backwards and retrace its steps. While that's not the case here, the moon is not going to move backwards in degrees. It is going to hit that same sign and area of your life again. So it is as if it's saying, hey, one more shot on this, final round of edits. How's this going? And especially with Capricorn, we want to think, how is whatever is being done in this house being set up to endure? What are the foundations of this that are leading to long-term sustainable success? So that is something that you can think about in the area of your life where Capricorn is in the houses of your chart. So that is our full moon. And as you can see, the full moon itself is just getting ready to trine Mars. And because it is within that 3-degree, the moon's going to tip over to 0 degrees in what would be 42 minutes of a degree. So less than a degree away from that 0 degree of Aquarius where Mars is. So we're going to say that this moon is trine Mars. There may be some extra oomph, ambition, sense of challenge to this situation that we're dealing with. With this having been, for example, in my chart, it's just after sunrise, the sun is up. Mars is not as happy being available during the day or functioning during the day. So this might show up as more challenge for the people who have the sun above the horizon during the full moon. For the people who have the sun below the horizon, it may not be as challenging. It may be more ambition. We will find out by living it and seeing what we rise to in whatever occasion presents itself. So thinking about how you might be overcoming obstacles or triumphing over something in that area of your life as well that you've worked hard on and now are seeing the results after 6 months of effort so that you can continue and be successful over time in a way that is sustainable. Maybe something that we're looking at here. So this is not the only thing going on in the sky this day, though. If we bring all the planets back, we will see there are many planets having conversations, even though they're not having direct conversations with the moon, but they are happening during this full moon. So we may notice their effects because they are contributing to what the sky is offering us. If this chart were actually a plate, there are several things on that plate that we will be receiving that day. So in addition to our full moon in Capricorn, we will see that Jupiter and Venus are going to be exact this day. Venus will catch up in degrees to Jupiter and they will have their exact sextile. This is an optimistic opportunity that might present itself. Jupiter, of course, being a benefic and Venus also being a benefic, they are interacting with each other to bring maybe people into our lives, conversations into our lives, or opportunities to stand in the limelight a little bit and speak a truth. Maybe that's something that you'll see with this aspect also being present. Now, at the same time, we are also experiencing something a little bit more chaotic, which is this square aspect between Mercury and Uranus that is perfecting. And as you can see, Mars has just gotten separate from this conjunction with Uranus. So whatever is going on with that we experienced a couple days before this, we may notice some surprising changes, new ideas, new thoughts, new conversations, new connections, new messages coming through, new information being presented to us that kind of makes us pivot or propels us forward into innovation, inspiration, or something of the like that is just outside of our realm of understanding currently and pushes us kind of outside of that box that we may be in. This is the kind of box breaker aspect we would look at. Now, at the same time, we are also still seeing that, and speaking of Mars, Mars is, of course, at that 0 degree. There is another planet at the 0 degree here in an air sign, which forms a trine. Mars and Pluto will perfect their trine this day, too. We just mentioned that Mars is coming away from this conjunction with Uranus. So there may have been really interesting and challenging and activated kind of changes that happened with this. And now we are unearthing the power that comes from them. We are unearthing what that means for us moving forward. What maybe do we bring to a conclusion so that we can renew ourselves and move forward with this new version of our understanding and of our ability and our capability and our ambition to do something that may lead to different decisions and different changes. So again, we're kind of seeing that repeating itself. And then finally, we come back to the sun, who is actually forming an aspect here at the 29 degree with Neptune, who does form this bit of a sextile with the moon as well from an earth to water kind of perspective. So we are seeing Neptune having a more direct effect on this full moon in total, bringing maybe a bit of confusion or a bit of open-mindedness or a bit of detachment, something that pulls us away from fixation in all of this chaos. As everything is happening around us, the most personal thing we're seeing is this full moon. The most personal thing we have control over is detaching from other outcomes and focusing in on what we can do, on what is around us, what is within our power, and the success that we are building one brick or one step at a time. So my affirmation suggestion for this full moon, full blue moon in Capricorn is I am upheaving old foundations to pave new ones. Yes, you may remove something, but it's so that you can bring something new into the picture that will last longer, so that you can renew that sort of promise of success to yourself. And so things that you can do to tangibly honor this and to make use of it would be to update your goals and the steps to achieve them. So since 6 months ago, you may have come a long way in goals that you set. And then even since last month, you may be adjusting what it will take to reach that version of success that you are looking forward to. And it is okay to change your mind, to change your ideas, because the world around us is also changing and we are adapting to that, as you can see with everything that is going on in this chart. So then we move on to what can we do intentionally this week with our folk magic or magical inclinations. Now, the moon being in Capricorn is a big no-no for things like astrological magic, which is very finely tuned magic and working with sort of forces that exist in the cosmos, and we kind of invite them to come down and work with us in spirit, through talismans and those kinds of things. That is considered high magic, not because it's better than any other magic, but because it's very finely tuned. For example, in astrology, you might have to wait 30 years for the right moment to come along where you can actually make the effect that you are desiring. In folk magic, they're not waiting around like that. So there are some things that people have come up with in different cultures and in different practices and across the board to say, yeah, the moon may be in Capricorn, but life goes on and we still have to do and create and heal and work with each other. And so in the Modern School of Ancient Wisdom this week, I actually offered a spell from the Ozark Mountain tradition where you use an oak tree and you use a little ritual with that oak tree to request and draw in success. So one of the things that we can do this week is think about, again, that enduring success, our ideas for what success looks like, and how we can ground ourselves in the assurance and the feeling of what that success is going to feel like. So whether you have a tree that you can sit under, whether you are part of the Modern School of Ancient Wisdom student study tier where you can access this spell and use it, I do recommend doing it before the full moon, so we still have that waxing moon while it's in Capricorn, or any other time if you're really thinking about success. But full moon will be in Capricorn from the 19th through the 21st. So on the 19th and the 20th, we will have a waxing moon in Capricorn. So if this is a time where you want to think about your increase of success through the building of foundational steps and that which you can build upon in the future, like investments and things like that, this is a really great time to be paying attention to that. Maybe it's planting a tree that will grow over years and years and years. And as you plant this tree, you set the intention that just as this tree will be successful in its growth, so will you. So I hope that this does feel like a successful time for you. I hope that among the chaos, you find some closure and that you find some contentment and that you do move forward, feeling empowered, feeling supported, and feeling as incredible as I know you are. Have a great week.